Joy Ajlouny, welcome to Pivot.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so I met you a week ago for the first time.
Yes.
And within about 5 minutes of meeting you, I was like, I really need her on Pivot. How am I going to get her on Pivot without looking like, a bit eager? But I'm just so happy that you've come, and I appreciate it a lot because I know you're very busy.
You are a doll, and I really appreciate being here. So thank you for having me.
So we are going to go into a lot today, and a lot is actually to do with business, money, where we put it when we don't know where to put it. But before we get there, I think I need to introduce you better for those that might not have heard of you. So you are a top female entrepreneur, and when I say top, it's very top. So you have raised over $100 million in venture capital, and you co-founded Fetcher in 2015.
Yes.
Which, for people that don't know, Fetcher is a delivery business,
yes,
which operated in 6 different countries. And then you left in 2019, and you decided to focus more on investing in entrepreneurs yourself, innovative entrepreneurs. And before all of that, you were in fashion. You had a fashion e-commerce business, which got acquired by Mode Operandi.
Yes.
So this is awesome. I mean, a highly successful, trajectory in tech and e-commerce. So, I mean, I think if I have to start, I'd like to start with, why are you considered to be a maverick?
So I'm somebody who is a risk taker, and I have a very aggressive, I don't want to use the word aggressive because I hate when people describe women as aggressive, where they describe men as leaders and powerful. So I'm going to change that.
Okay.
I have a very vibrant personality, and I'm a go-getter. And I think that, look, I've been described a maverick because I say what's on my mind. I don't live in fear. I live in authenticity, and I'm very well aware of who I am, and I don't make any apologies for it. And I think when you're comfortable in your own skin, people feel that energy.
Yes.
And I call myself a maverick because I think it's really hard to be authentic to yourself, and I think it's really hard to not fear what you're going to say. So I'm a maverick because I don't live in fear. I live in saying what's in my heart and what's in my mind without wondering if people are willing to accept me or not, or reject me. I live by a very interesting philosophy, which is, if you don't care what anyone thinks of you in the room, then you are by far the most powerful person in that room. And I think that makes me a maverick. It's about being who you are and not being afraid of people judging you for that. And that's why I call myself a maverick.
I really like that answer. That was a good kickoff to Pivot with me, honestly. So Joy, this is a vague question.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Who am I? Oh God, we're kidding. Right off the bat.
Good luck with that one.
Who am I? I'm actually nobody really special. I say that all the time. I really, with all sincerity, I'm nobody special. I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't go to Stanford. I don't have an MBA. I'm just somebody who hit rock bottom at one point in my life, sincerely, like we've all been. And I had 2 choices at that time. I was either going to choose to live, or I was going to choose to die, literally.
Wow.
And I say that very casually, but it was a very dramatic time in my life. And I literally looked in the mirror and I decided to live and to believe in myself. So I think, who is Joy? Joy is nobody special, but Joy is somebody who took an opportunity to look in the mirror, a hard look in the mirror, and she decided to choose herself. And she decided to believe in herself. And that's who Joy is. Joy is somebody who believed in herself when at a time in her life she didn't think that anybody did. So she made a choice, and she chose to live and to thrive. That's Joy.
I have a feeling that's what you're going to probably open up more about when I ask you about your pivot in life. So I'm going to actually hold back from questioning you more on it just for the time being. Okay, so something I've seen that's incredibly common amongst successful people, whether they became successful over a long period of time or it was quite quick. Again, the definition of success changes to different people. It could be money, it could be a variety of things. But a lot of these people feel imposter syndrome, okay? And is this something that you have ever faced in your life once you've, achieved success?
No. I come from Silicon Valley, California, and we have a fake it till you make it philosophy. And
is that an American thing?
I think it's a Silicon Valley thing.
Okay.
Right? I think it's a Silicon Valley thing. You have to believe in yourself. I think part of faking it till you make it is believing in yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in energy. I'm not this, hokey pokey kind of person who's got different rocks with energy. No, none of that. But I believe that the universe is built on energy. And I think that what you put out into the world is what you're going to get back. And if you put out into the world that you are positive and you believe in yourself and you really believe in what you're doing, then that energy comes through to someone else and they believe you. So is it an imposter syndrome? No, I don't think it's an imposter syndrome. I think it's about the energy you put out into the universe. You could call it that, but I don't believe it's that.
Well, no. So what I meant was, which I understand what you're saying. It's just, maybe people have had success or they're doing so well, but what they're feeling internally isn't that success. So externally they're getting it, but internally they feel like they can't accept it, like it's hard for them to accept. But I'm just wondering, because I spoke to a few people recently who were just saying they really struggle with accepting this identity of a successful person, which I found really interesting.
I don't think that's something that I've never felt.
Faced,
I've never felt the imposter syndrome. I just felt like you put out that feeling of again, it's a belief in what you're doing.
Yes, 100%.
So it's not fake. If you truly believe it, there's nothing imposter about that.
Yeah.
It's authentic, it's real.
Yeah, and if you believe in yourself fully,
Yeah.
then you believe that you're there, you're fully there, and you're very present with what you're doing.
Everybody gets on these podcasts and they talk about believing in yourself and the energy.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer. Your thoughts create your reality, right? So be really careful what you choose to think.
Definitely.
Because it becomes a reality. So if you actually physically get up in the morning, right? And I'm sorry to go back a little bit.
No, fine.
Like people always say, how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, it's like exercise, right? You build a muscle by continually to work it out. You train yourself with your thoughts. And how do you do that? It's hard work, by the way. It's a job and it takes time to train yourself. You get up in the morning and instead of a negative thought coming into your mind, you switch it to a positive thought.
So let's say this negative thought comes into your mind.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired and I'm grumpy this morning and something just put me in a bad mood. I don't feel today's going to be a good day. So what do you do?
The minute you say that, you put that out and the universe will answer you back.
Agreed.
And you will have a bad day.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I mean, that's the truth.
I completely believe in that.
Yeah.
It's
the law of attraction.
Einstein said it.
Yeah.
Connect the frequency with the reality that you wish to accomplish and you cannot help but create that reality.
So the thought in itself.
That's not philosophy.
Yeah.
That's not philosophy. That's physics.
It's science.
It's science. So if you think that when you wake up in the morning, then I can guarantee you your whole day is ruined. Flat tire, kid doesn't feel well, you forgot your phone at the home,
and it just keeps
so immediately change it. Right? It's physics. Immediately change that thought, and you'd be very surprised of how everything changes. I'm a huge believer in your thoughts create your reality, and I'm a huge believer in training yourself to think positively. And it takes work. It's not easy.
Is there anything that you do is there any tools that you use to do that? Like anything, I don't know, whether it's journaling or, you know, small things like that.
No, I know a lot of people love to write down their thoughts. That's a job. You know, what I do is I get up in the morning and I do what makes me happy. I get up, I have a good cup of coffee, right? That makes me happy.
Yeah.
I listen to a good song. You know, music is very powerful.
High frequency as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, not all songs actually, but yeah, generally speaking.
Yeah, so good music, a good cup of coffee, you know, and then I stop for a minute and I have gratitude. And I know that that's overworked, but I promise you, it's oversaid and overdone. But, you know, I make a phone call to my mom, who's 90 years old. And I say, hey, Mom, how are you? I love you. Connection to humanity. All these little things make a person happy.
Yeah.
You know, just getting on the phone and connecting with your mom and having gratitude that she's 90 years old and she's still alive. Thank you, God. Like having gratitude and connecting yourself with little things that put a smile on your face puts you in a positive energy.
Definitely.
You know, I definitely practice that.
They say that connecting with the elderly and connecting with children is a really, really healthy way to I don't know, increase your dopamine levels and happiness and just sense of connection to the earth.
I completely believe in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I love the elderly and I love children.
Yeah.
I do.
You can come play with mine anytime. So you are a successful businesswoman and you never got married.
Nope.
And I'd like to ask you about this. So how does that work in today's society? You are an Arab woman in a society where getting married is extremely important. It is ingrained into women at quite a young age,
Yes.
or girls, that's key, right?
Yes.
Like that's how you're safe. That's how you'll be secure. That's how you will create your own good family and good reputation for a family, which is very important.
Yes.
So how do you deal with that as a single Arab woman today?
So, you know, what's interesting is that I've been engaged, didn't work out, but the interesting thing is that's what really got me to this point.
Yeah.
Right? What got me to this point is that I was going to get married to a very successful man. I've got the 10 carat diamond ring to go with the...
That's huge.
It is huge.
Do you have a picture?
I do, and I still have it, actually. And it was really interesting because that kind of put me on my journey. I was an Arab woman who was like, I got to get married, and I got to find a successful man, and I got to have the babies. So I was on that path. And what happened is that I didn't really do anything in my life except follow the steps of what I needed to do as a successful Arab woman, of what I'm expected to do. And I did it. I mean, I got the big ring and the big mansion and, you know, the nice guy. But something really interesting happened to me. I got all of that and I thought I hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about all of that is that I didn't really accomplish anything in my life. I got a degree, but I never really used it. I didn't create a business. I didn't work. I didn't do anything. So when I got the engagement ring, something happened to me. I started thinking to myself, well, I didn't really do anything. My success is focused on who he is. He's the wealthy guy. He's the guy with the big house. My success was not focused on who I am. So I started becoming what he wanted to be, what he wanted me to be. Wear the nice dress, put on the nice smile. I started losing myself. And this is a very hard thing for me to talk about, and I get very emotional about it. I'm going to try not to get emotional.
Do you want me to give you a tissue? Here.
You're sweet.
Little mini tissue box.
Well, yeah. But it's an important message, I think, for your viewers.
Thank you for sharing. Honestly, it means the world for you to be so open.
Well, thank you. I mean, I can do that now. I mean, I don't think I was able to do that at one point in my life.
Yeah.
But, you know, something happens to you when you focus your identity on what somebody else has accomplished. And I think as Arab women, a lot of us are in that situation.
Yeah.
We get our success by who we married. And what started happening is I started feeling bad about myself. I started thinking, okay,
Early on after the engagement.
after the engagement, I started thinking to myself, I got the guy, I got the house, but what did you do, Joy? And the answer to that is, I didn't do anything. And slowly, I started feeling really bad about myself.
Yeah.
I started feeling like, wait a minute, I'm lucky to have him. I'm not that great. And when you talk about imposter syndrome, that is when I felt.
Ah, well, here we go. We went back to it there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was like, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm not that great. Maybe, this and that. And then something really interesting, when you don't feel good about yourself, this is a very powerful message for your audience. When you don't feel good about yourself and you don't feel whole on the inside, then the person that you're with starts looking at you differently.
Well, in that way.
Yes.
How you feel is how they are going to treat you.
Yes, because you're reflecting the energy. Again, we go back to the subject of energy. You're emitting that energy that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And then he's picking up on the energy.
You're not good enough. You don't really love yourself in this moment. You don't even like yourself that much.
Yes.
So it's, that's very natural.
And it happens to a lot of Arab women.
Yeah.
Right?
It happens to women everywhere.
Women everywhere, not just Arab women. But a lot of Arab women are setting their lives on who they're married to.
Yeah.
And that's not enough. I can tell you right now, that's not enough. So we winded up breaking up. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was in a situation where I hit really rock bottom because I was a failure. I lost the guy with the big ring and the big house. Who am I? Mm-hmm. Right? Who am I if I'm not the wealthy guy's wife? Who am I?
You were forced to discover that quite quickly.
I did. And that is when, as I spoke earlier in the podcast, that's when I hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Where we broke off the engagement. He started thinking he could do better. I started thinking he could too. And the interesting part is I went through an insane amount of depression. Mm. And what's interesting is that as women, when a guy leaves us, my God, we hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I think that's very common, not just for Arab women, but for all women.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Because when a woman breaks up with a man and she relies her whole identity on him, she has nothing. But when a man breaks up with a woman, he still has his company, his business. He gets his self-esteem
Pride.
and his pride from his friends and his business and the money that he makes. Where women get their self-esteem and their pride from who they're married. And I learned a really valuable lesson.
Are you happy you learned that lesson early on?
I am, because it got me to who I am today. Mm-hmm. And that's the point in my life where I hit rock bottom. And I literally didn't want to live. I mean, people are ashamed to talk about depression. I'm not.
Yeah.
Because we, as human beings, we all go through depression. But I didn't want to live. So what did you do? What tools did you use? Who was helping you through this? I literally, it's a good question. When you're in that kind of state, nobody can help you. Mm. Not a therapist, not your mother.
Unless you want help.
Exactly.
Like you have to want it.
Exactly. I had millions of people talking to me. You're going to be fine. You mean somebody. I locked myself literally in my room for months, crying on the floor, didn't want to eat, was up all day, just watching TV up a day, couldn't get off the couch. I mean,
just broken
from the inside.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live. And I say that not casually. But I got to a point where I looked in the mirror, like we spoke about earlier, and I just literally, I don't know if you've ever done this. Have you ever looked in the mirror for a long time and stared at yourself?
I did do this. It is really strange.
It is.
I cried a lot actually when I did it, but it was a thing. It was like something eye gazing, and you gaze at yourself for a long period of time. I found it very odd.
It's weird.
It's okay. So my experience was that I was looking at myself, and then all of a sudden I saw someone different. And then all of a sudden I saw someone different. I have goosebumps saying it. And I kept seeing different people It's really odd. And I'm like, why am I seeing different people? And maybe it's different versions of myself at different times. I would see a sadder person pop up, and then I'd see a happier person pop up. And now you're saying it, that I did this a while ago. I'd actually love to try it again.
It's really...
Do you still do this?
No, I did it at that point.
Okay.
And I just, exactly what you're describing.
Yeah.
I saw sad joy. I saw a stranger looking back at me. It was really eerie.
I have goosebumps. It was so weird. I felt the exact same way. I honestly went through different versions of myself.
Who are you? Like, you get that.
Like, it's so weird because it's just you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's almost like a ghost is speaking through the mirror. It's an eerie trance.
Yeah.
And I remember looking in the mirror, speaking, and that's when I said, "Are you going to live, Joy, or are you going to die?"
Yeah.
And it was as if my ghost or my spirit was speaking back to me.
Yeah.
And I remember at that moment, I looked in the mirror and I said, "Oh no, you're going to live. So you have to make a choice." And in that moment, I made a choice. Mm-hmm. I got up, I left, and I said, "You're going to change, and you're going to change your life, because eventually all of us have to take responsibility for ourselves."
You're fully accountable.
Yes, not your husband, not your children, not your mother, not your father. You are responsible for you.
Yeah.
And if you don't make that change, nobody else is going to. No one's going to save you.
Yeah.
No one is going to save you. You got to save yourself. And that was the decision that I made.
So the tools you used in that was you spoke to yourself.
I spoke to myself.
So you changed your thoughts.
Yes, I
which
did.
is what you've already been saying, which is like all the power of thought. Mm-hmm. You spoke to yourself in a really strong way with positive affirmations.
Yes.
And that's what worked for you.
Well, you have no choice.
Yeah.
This is life.
Listen, at the time also, I don't think it was as common to go and the therapist. Like now today, it's very, very common to go and see loads of different types of therapists.
But you know, again, I know a lot of people see therapists and it may help them. I'm not poo-pooing on therapy. But at the end of the day, the therapist isn't going to help you if you don't want to change yourself.
It's all about the want and the will.
It's the will.
Yeah.
It's the will.
Yeah.
And I wanted it. So I got up and I said, "No, you're going to make a difference." And I got up, and I remember everyone telling me, "Well, you didn't go to Harvard, you didn't go to Yale, you didn't go to Stanford. You want to do a startup business?" Like, I remember laughing at me. And I was just like, yeah.
Can I just say, I feel like you're talking about your pivot, but I have to just say, would this be considered your pivot, like going through the low point and then going through this? Okay, so when I say, please tell me a pivot that you've been through, this is it. We're in the middle of it.
We are in the middle.
Okay.
We are in the middle of this pivot because this is when the pivot happened. This is when
people are saying you can't do a startup because you are not educated enough and you don't have the background.
Oh my God, if you heard how much negativity I got, you're going to get married, you're going to wear the pretty dress and wear the big ring and go to the party. You're going to do a startup in Silicon Valley, California?
Okay.
I was in Silicon Valley at the time. They're like, "You're going to raise money from the venture capitalists?" These guys are getting money from people who went to MBAs at Stanford and Harvard. And you're a girl. Do you realize that only 1.2% of funding goes to female founders?
Wow.
You ain't got a chance.
I didn't know that was the stat.
Yes, the stat.
Oh my God.
So I said, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. And amazing. I changed my thoughts, changed my reality. I would go out and I would pitch for money for my first startup in San Francisco, California. And I was looking for, and you want to talk about how your thoughts create your reality. I was looking for seed funding. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to raise $200,000 to begin with, because that's how startups work. You start with seed and then you go to A. And I went out and I pitched my little heart out, and I got a Series A funding where I raised $2.5 million.
Wow.
On a piece of paper with no product, just a thought. Now, if you tell people that I raised $2.5 million with no minimal viable product, just on a thought with no proof of concept, that's pretty unbelievable. I did that because I believed in myself. And when I went out pitching to these VCs, they saw that energy and they wanted a part of that.
Yeah.
So that's how I winded up closing my first round of funding.
Wow.
For my first startup that got bought by Moda.
That was the fashion e-commerce business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, so your pivot was starting as a fiance, the relationship ending, and you moving into tech.
Yes.
Or, being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Okay.
And I say this because I think all over the world, but especially in the Middle East, that women's roles are more traditional.
Yeah.
Being a wife and a mother. And what's interesting is that divorce rates have never been higher.
Yeah. It's not as taboo to get divorced
It's
anymore.
not as taboo. And what's really interesting is now I see so many of my friends who are in their, late 30s, late 40s, even early 50s, who are divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going through this exact same thing. Well, who am I if I'm not so-and-so's wife?
Yeah.
And what have I done with my life? So there's nothing wrong with being a mother. I think believe me, it's the greatest gift from God.
It really is. It's just from my experience.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But you got to have something of your own to feel proud of. You need to accomplish things for yourself. And you don't need to raise $100 million like I did. You need to build your self-esteem. And what builds self-esteem is setting little goals and then reaching them. Mm-hmm. Every time you set a little goal for yourself and you reach it, it builds your self-esteem. And self-esteem creates an energy where you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell all my girlfriends who are divorced now, who are at a point in their lives where I was when I was engaged. What are you passionate about? What do you dream about? If you could do anything in the world, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And it's never too late. It's never too late.
So those small goals that you would want women to move towards, married, not married, mother, not mother, but maybe especially the ones who are maybe married and have children and aren't working in any way. You find it important for them to have something of their own, but does that really equate to having their own income?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, it's moving towards goals.
Yes.
Have your passions. However, having your own income is vital.
Yes, because money is freedom.
Okay.
I'm going to say that again right here on this podcast. Money is freedom. It is very important that you earn your own money and you put that dollar or that dirham or whatever the currency is in your pocket. The feeling you have from earning your own money is priceless. It is simply priceless. And I think that it's very important, whatever it is, that you get out there and you do what you love to do. You follow what moves you. And you don't have to be a tech entrepreneur like me. You don't have to raise $100 million. I mean, not everybody's geared to do that.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone is made for that, right?
No.
Exactly.
Follow what moves you. What puts a smile on your face? What makes you get up in the morning? What drives you?
That's the thing. A lot of people don't know. And they've been so consumed with what they've been doing over the past 5 to 10 years, which might be being a wife, which might be being at home, which is, I think, one of the most wonderful things and fulfilling things. But I do believe having your own income and having your own passion and work is equally as important. It's just a lot of people don't know what it is yet. So that's where they need to do that self-discovery.
But you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You sit.
But some people are scared to even figure it out. There's a lot of fear there to move in that direction.
But then we go back to the point of fear.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what fear is? Fear is the biggest waste of time.
Yeah.
Fear is about worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
Oof.
Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of, I don't know, getting sick. All these things haven't happened yet, right?
Oh my God. Fear of failure. I embrace failure.
Yeah.
I love failure. I don't look at failure as I failed. I look at failure as like, oh yeah, I just learned that lesson.
That was a lesson, exactly.
Yeah. And believe me, I have a lot of failures. I mean, I'm sitting here confident with you, but don't let me kid you. I got a pocket full of failures.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking more about your success, right?
Yes.
But if you're going to be honest and sit here as a humble businesswoman, obviously you have to say there have been failures.
And a lot of them.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. So good.
And a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think in Dubai especially, and in the Middle East, I think people are afraid to talk about their failures because they look at it as a mark of shame. It's really interesting. I think where I come from in Silicon Valley, people celebrate failure. Like if you do a business or a startup and you fail, people will actually fund you because they're excited about your failure because you learned a lesson and now you won't make the mistake with their money.
And also, like the courage that it takes to come back after
course.
failing means
course.
you're persistent.
Exactly.
And it means you're damn hardworking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love somebody who failed who comes back.
Yeah.
Because there's lessons learned and there's stamina and there's,
courage.
Where I think in the Middle East, it's more of a shameful thing. Like, look at them, look at them. I think here in the Middle East, we are very, very judgmental. We're very aware of, is your house big enough? Is your car big enough? Is your job? Do you make enough money? Are you carrying the right handbag? And that's why I think in the Middle East, people are more afraid than anywhere else because of the stigma of shame. But again, and people ask me all the time, what's your superpower, Joy? And I believe that my biggest superpower, and I would love to share with your audience, is not to have shame. Because that to me, again, if you walk into a room and you don't care what anyone thinks of you, you are the most powerful person in that room.
They should be scared of you.
And they are, because they'll feel the energy, but they'll want part of that.
Yeah.
And then they'll invest in you. It's that energy that we talk about, that physics. It's really interesting. It's very powerful.
I think it's intimidating for anyone to look at somebody who just does not care about other people's opinions, because it's confusing. I think they'd be slightly confused. Like, how do you not care?
Because you don't care. I mean, the only opinion that should matter is what you think of yourself.
Yeah. Listen, I think if you're that person, not you, if those people sitting there judging and criticizing and having any of those thoughts, and it's very natural and normal. Can you only imagine how they're talking to themselves? It's very harsh.
If you're judging somebody, guaranteed, take a look at yourself, and you're really talking about yourself.
Exactly.
100%. So whenever somebody has something negative, it's never about you.
No, exactly. It's not personal.
It's never. It's always about them. So I don't take anything that somebody says. I just look in their eyes. I know where it's coming from. I smile and I go, okay, thank you.
And move on.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Exactly.
I hear you. And thank you.
Yeah, good.
You can't be like, I can't believe. And I can't believe, I think, is the biggest word that holds people back. I can't believe. Well, believe.
Yeah, you should be. It just happened. It literally, something just happened in front of your face.
Yeah.
Okay, I think a good question after what we just said a lot is, do you have any regrets? And most people nowadays would say, no, I don't have any regrets. This is my path and da-da-da-da-da. But we're all on a path, and I believe, for instance, that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. But that does not mean I would have not done things differently. There are loads of things that I would have done differently if I was able to go back. And not huge things, but I would have done a few things differently. So what do you think about that?
I think you wouldn't be human if you didn't look back on your life and say shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Okay.
I don't know. I just don't find that realistic.
Agreed.
Everybody has, we all go through moments in life where you can go with door A or door B, right?
Or C.
Or C. And each one of them would have changed the outcome of your life. It's like a revolving door. Which door you're going to take? It's interesting. So, do I have regrets? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But again, it got me to where I am today.
Yeah.
So, it's my path, and I accept what is.
I look at it as, let's say, those small things that I would have changed. I actually kind of wish I just was a little bit more evolved in that moment to have handled it. So I don't wish this, it's not really about the situation. It's about, I wish just I was a little bit wiser in that moment. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a very famous saying that says youth is wasted on the young.
Yes, that is a great saying. It is.
And it's basically that if I knew what I knew today, I would have made a different choice back then because I'm wiser. But it got you to where you are today, and that's just your path.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yes, we all have choices that we think about for sure.
Your parents were Palestinian refugees who I'm assuming were expelled in 1948 from Palestine.
Yes.
And the question that I have for you is, how have your parents being refugees impacted your life and career?
Huge. So my mom was a refugee in 1948, where she was kicked out of her country of Palestine at gunpoint, never to return to her homeland of her country of Palestine and Jerusalem, which she was born and raised. And she had to survive because she left with the clothes on her back. So when you're a refugee, and I think all Palestinians can speak for this, we're all refugees. You have a survival instinct. And that survival instinct is embedded in each and every Palestinian offspring, where our parents are like, you got to work hard, you got to study, you got to get good grades, you got to go after what you want, you got to be the best, because we don't have a country. We have to thrive wherever we land.
And in order to thrive, it would mean
being good at the best at what you're doing.
Okay.
And I think I'm not saying this because I'm Palestinian. I think it's a refugee mentality.
Yeah.
Because it's survival. It's survival. And I think that survival is embedded in me as a Palestinian, and I think it's embedded in all Palestinians because of that.
Yeah.
Right? Very similar to the Jewish survival after the Holocaust.
Definitely.
I
was actually going to reference that for you.
Yeah, they wanted to live, they wanted to survive, they wanted to thrive. So, funny enough, we have a lot in common with our Jewish brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Right? The funny thing is, I wish they felt more for us, because we both are survivors of very horrific things that happened to both of us.
Yeah. One just happens to be ongoing in 2023.
Well, one is 70 years, 70 years of occupation.
And happening today.
And today, longest occupation in world history.
Yeah.
And it's not going away. And again, it's that determination, that energy, that they get bombed and I get right back up. You can't break me.
Yeah.
I think all Palestinians have that "you can't break me"
They have
determination.
Nothing to lose at this point.
Exactly.
I think that creates a strength that unless you are there, nobody will ever understand. So your parents understand it because they were there and were forced to leave. And that DNA in itself is within you.
Well, I carry my Palestinian country on my neck every single day. It's in my heart. I believe it definitely made me who I was today, having parents who were survivors.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a very common thing to hear from Palestinian, friends of mine whose parents went through the same thing as your parents.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Now, did you like the page flip?
I did.
Moving on. So I put a poll up on my Instagram yesterday to viewers and listeners to ask what questions they would like me to ask. They didn't know it was you, but I gave an idea of who you were.
Yeah.
So, and I obviously said that you are, a strong businesswoman, entrepreneur, investor, and you know what to do with money. So, something that's common between a lot of people, way more people than I thought, after doing a couple of different podcasts, and financial literacy came up, is that no one knows what they're doing.
Oh boy, you touched a subject that is so passionate for me.
Well, great. So we have questions.
Oh, great. Give them to me.
And they're very simple questions.
Oh no, I want the complicated ones.
I mean, I can try to make them more complicated, but we need them. We need simple questions answered.
Money is power. Let's start with that.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. I think we're aware and we kind of want to grow the money, so we're trying to figure out how.
You got to make your own money.
Yes.
I don't care if you're married to a billionaire.
Yeah.
You got to make your own money. You got to save your own money. And it's your responsibility to grow that money. Okay?
So on the grow, let's go from there. So the biggest question I have is, if you have money, it could be limited. It could, okay, let's say between 50 to 100,000 dirhams.
Okay.
That's like, I think, a decent range to give. You're sitting on this
Yes.
cash,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
How do I grow that money? What would you do with it?
So you need to look at that money and you need to understand your circumstances, okay? You're a young girl. Depends on your age, right? Are you 20? Are you 30? Are you 40? Are you 50?
Let's say me, mid-30s.
Okay, mid-30s. You have to take probably 70% of that money and you have to put 70% of that money into something that's a solid investment. You may not get a big return, but you'll get a return and you know that the money is safe.
What is a solid investment?
A solid investment is basically getting a certain percentage on your money,
Okay.
right? Putting it in a certificate of deposit. That's about as safe as you can get. A certificate of deposit in a bank that is guaranteed to, like in the United States, when you put it in a certificate of deposit, you're guaranteed to never lose, let's say, $250,000. Okay, you put it in a certificate of deposit. Right now, those certificates of deposits are giving you 6% interest on your money.
Okay.
Okay, that's guaranteed. You're not going to lose it. That's as good as gold.
Fine.
Okay, solid money, 70%. Then you have 20%. That 20% of your money you put in something that's a little bit more volatile, but has a higher opportunity for return.
Got it.
For example, the stock market, right? You put your money in the tech indexes, right? It's volatile. It's still secure, but more volatile. But the highs could be really high. You can, instead of getting 6% back on your money, maybe you'll get 15, 20, 30% back on your money.
Okay. But should you be prepared to lose that 20%?
No, because you're not in the indexes.
You're not there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you pick a solid tech indexes, and tech indexes like a mixture of Uber, Facebook, Google, Apple, those are the tech indexes. They take the top 5 and you can put your money in the stock market for that. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, the highs are going to be, the returns are going to be more high, a little bit more risky,
Yeah.
but not super risky.
That was very informative.
And then the last 10%.
Oh, did we? Oh, 70, 20. Yes, we have 10 more percent.
Then you got the last 10. That's got to be money you're willing to lose.
Okay. And what do we do with that?
That you put into what I put my money into, venture capital. Venture capital.
But it's not a very big amount.
No, but it returns huge amounts because it's extremely risky.
Oh, I see.
So that is the 10% that you got to be willing to lose
Fine.
because you're gambling. Venture capital, you gamble.
Got it.
But you do informative gambling. You can put that money in a VC fund that you believe, or you can directly invest it in a startup that you believe in. I invest in quite a few startups in Silicon Valley, California, and they've paid off huge for me. I can put in...
But it was risky.
Very risky. I had to be, put it in, close my eyes, willing to lose it.
Yeah.
I've put in, oh God, I don't want to give you specific numbers.
You don't have to give a number.
But like I put in, let's just give you a number, $10. And I get back, $50,000.
Yeah.
That's how crazy the returns are on venture capital, right? But again, I could have lost the $10. So
I'm going to call you. Everybody else can call me.
Actually, you should. You should.
Oh, I will.
Because I invest in early stage startups in Silicon Valley, California.
Okay. Do you do sort of forums, workshops, things that people can join to learn from you?
I don't. I should. I mean, I have people coming up to me all the time saying, "Can I give you money to invest?" And I've thought about doing that because I would love to. No, not a fund, because a fund just sounds too formal.
Yeah, yeah.
I would love to invest. I would love to create a I don't want to say personal banking because it's not really personal banking. I would love to create an opportunity for women to invest and be able to make returns on their money, because I think a lot of women in this country have a lot of money, and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And I also think shopping for really expensive items is the dumbest way to lose your money, because then you're going to go back to, oh, I have the new Chanel shoes. Well, who cares what everybody's thinking of your shoes? You've got no money in the bank.
Yeah.
And these things are $800. Well, for $800 or $1,000 or $1,200 for a pair of shoes, you could be making money on that money.
Yeah.
And not just keeping it in your closet. So I beg women, please don't stop spending, because that goes into the cycle of what other people think about you.
I think the people that are consistently spending on things like Chanel shoes or designer bags or whatever it is.
Yeah. Care about what other people think of
No,
them.
it's a problem.
Yeah.
You have a problem because firstly, when is it going to be enough? When will it ever be enough? It's never going to be enough. So fix the problem. Go to the root of why you think it's normal to shop that much.
Well, when you don't have enough of what you need, you can't get enough of what you don't need.
Yeah.
And I think that's the therapy of shopping.
I like that.
You like that?
I like that sentence. That was a good one.
That's my quote. You can
Okay,
quote
wait.
me on
I
that.
want to ask you the next question because
Yeah.
I feel like we could go on about so many different topics. Next question. What are you investing in now and why?
So I'm investing in female founders that are of Arab descent, who went to school in the United States, who decided to build their startups in the United States. I've invested in...
Is that in general or a specific?
That's what I do. I like to invest in Arabs who are in the United States, who come from the Middle East, who've come to Silicon Valley or Austin or New York.
And you want to give them that leg up.
And I want to give them that leg up, yeah. And I help them raise money as well because I'm in Silicon Valley. So I have a lot of connections.
Wow.
So if I believe in you, and I've heard tons of pitches, and since I've been here in Dubai, I've met with 3 startups already, and I've only been here for a week, who are like, what do you think of my startup? I'm an expert in looking at a deck, seeing the value proposition, and raising money. So that's my forte, but I got to believe in you.
I honestly feel so lucky to be sitting here because like my brain is suddenly buzzing with ideas and with stuff. Anyways,
You should do it. You should do it.
No.
No fear.
So there isn't a third question because the third question, now that I'm looking at it, is pretty much identical to the first question. So anyways, those were 2 of, let's say, the most common questions that the listeners wanted to know.
Yeah.
What is key for young people, not necessarily in work, but more on an internal and personal level, in your opinion? What do they need to work on to succeed in life? Like, what do they need to focus on and start doing from a young age, let's say?
I think they need to start getting comfortable with who they are. I think having a real understanding of who you are as a person and being comfortable in your own skin, where you can walk into a crowd of 6,000 people and be just fine, not feel afraid like you can't be there. If you have a true understanding of yourself, I think that really helps you present yourself better in the world and go after what you want because you know who you are. So my advice is to be comfortable in your own skin as quickly as possible.
Good one. I agree. I completely agree with that. And that's going to look very different for everyone. What they have to do to get there is going to look very different for different people.
For sure.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Okay. And what is something you would tell your younger self?
Ooh, what would I tell my younger self?
I do this thing in hypnotherapy, like when you're in it, and you imagine your younger self sitting in the chair and like you have to, tell them.
I wish I didn't waste as much time crying over broken hearts. I wish I think of all the years I cried over brokenhearted. Like every time I broke up with someone, or I spent so much time getting over it. And I wish I could tell my younger self not to have wasted so much energy on something else other than myself. I wish I had invested more time in me and less time in looking outside for things that were going to make me whole rather than looking within myself. I wasted so much energy. I mean, I've had my share of broken hearts where I've spent months even years getting over someone. And the interesting part is I learned a lesson, you know, as women, when we get rejected and whatever it is, we spend so much time looking at like, why did it happen to me? I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't beautiful enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough, right? We spend all that time left self-loathing. And what's interesting is that I wish that women would have the idea of just saying, why would you want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with you?
Yeah.
Like, you got to ask yourself that question.
He's just not that into you.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not that into you.
Yeah.
And you know what? If he's not, then goodbye.
Yeah.
When a relationship is over.
And that's fine. There doesn't have to be hate about it.
There's nothing wrong.
Resentment.
There's nothing wrong with it. Like, if something is over, well, then it's over. Whether you get over it tomorrow or you take 7 months or 7 years to get over it, the end result, it's over.
Yeah, it's over.
So if I wish my younger self had told myself today, I would sit on the couch and I would look at my younger self and be like, hey, babe, don't waste your energy. It's done.
Yeah.
Move on.
Basically accept it.
Yeah.
Just accept it and move on.
And if I loved myself back then, I would have said, why would I want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with me? Never is going to work.
Yeah.
And so I wish I had the opportunity to go back in time and tell myself that, because there was a lot of energy wasted. And I'm sure your audience is looking, going, oh yeah, I've wasted. See, that's
our time limit. Just saying like, okay, we're coming to a close.
We're coming to a close. And that was like
while the sign melts. Stay. Joy, this was literally, no pun intended, a joy.
Oh, come on. You say that to all the girls.
I really don't. This was really just one of my favorites. You are fantastic. You're so smart. You're so self-aware.
No, you're just being kind, but I really appreciate it. No, I'm going to tell you what I told everybody in the beginning of the audience. I'm nobody special. I'm just somebody who chose to believe in herself, and then the rest fell into place.
Well, I think you are somebody special.
Thanks, but I sincerely.
What you mean is you're a normal person who has created this
for myself
from scratch.
Yeah.
So that's just very powerful.
Yeah.
And I hope you come back.
I will.
Maybe next. Oh! Now I have the sign.
Nope.
It's fine.
It's
How's my glow?
It's actually really good. I guess that means it's officially done.
Yeah, it's done. But thank you for coming.
Oh my God, thank you for having me.
And when I have any ideas, I'll be in touch.
Please do. And to your audience, thank you for listening. And honestly, go get them, girls. If I can do it, believe me, anybody can do it. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.